Hello, everybody. It's your favorite brother, the GRANDfool. And today, I was turning on my feed on, one of it was a YouTube feed. And, I came across this band recently that I kind of dug. And they say this thing, they had this thing at Madison Square Garden. It's called a rug pull. Now, I guess I'm an old timer, and I didn't understand. Or no, a rug sale. Sorry. So I wasn't familiar with the current nomenclature. It shows what a bubble I live in. And so I asked, the Grok Rex what a rug sale was, and he explained it to me. All right, so recap the conversation for me quickly.
Started with rug deals, surprise music drops with no warning, like Beyonce's album. Then, you asked how to rug sale a vault pack ticket drop at MSG. I told you, last minute QR codes via Discord or email. Fans scan in. We talk tech, why venues still use Ticketmaster, money, contracts, reach, and how some acts hybrid it. Superfans first, public later. That's it.
Okay, so we just started getting into something that I was kind of curious about, and I said, you know what? Rather than learn, whatever I was going to learn and then try and regurgitate it out or, reprocess it, I said, I think it'll be better just to maybe try this with, just going raw, not necessarily live, but, just recording as we go, which is what I did last time. Let's try and turn all this stuff off. Very unprofessional, really, man. Get your shit together. All right, so where we left off was with I said, why don't artists just go directly to, like, for this rug sale that they have, right? So why aren't all ticket sales done that way?
Artists can't rug every sale because it's not scalable. You'd leave money on the table. Big tours need months of promo to fill arenas. Superfans can't buy 10,000 seats alone. Venues and promoters want predictable cash flow. They guarantee artists 20, 30 million upfront, then claw it back from Ticketmaster fees and merch. Go rogue, you lose that advance, eat lawsuits from contracts, and casual fans, who pay half your revenue, never hear about it. It's like trying to sell out Coachella on Twitter DMs. Fun for a one-night pop-up, suicide for the whole thing. Hybrid's the move. Rug extras to loyalists, dump the rest public. Keeps everyone happy.
All right, so I have no idea how this industry works, so I guess I'm learning. So you've got, I guess, the artists, right? Now, the artists, they have probably some type of contract arrangements with their producers, their studios, right?
Yeah, but that's the recording side. Totally different beast from live shows. Think of it like the label advances them money to make the album. Takes 50, 60% of streaming royalties until it's paid back. But live touring, that's where the real bread is. Labels usually get 10, 15% of gross ticket sales because of that 360 deal they sign. But honestly, a lot of artists just fire their labels now and self-release. Still, even then, you need a promoter. Live Nation basically fronts you 20 million, says, hey, we'll put you on billboards, Spotify ads, whatever. But we take 6%, Ticketmaster takes 15, venue keeps 12. You end up with maybe 40 cents on the dollar. Sucks, but without him, you might have played a club instead of an arena. It's why people like Taylor Swift started her own ticket company. Still didn't go full rogue though.
Well, you can't just say it sucks. First of all, in a free market, just hang on. Let me point out. In a free market, if we really had a free market, but let's just say hypothetically, in a free market, if there's a service that needs that someone can provide, they can provide it, and then people have a choice whether or not to use that service. Obviously, these artists feel that there's an advantage to having. So what I'm to understand is now is that you have an artist who produces music, right, and produces content, but in order to get that content produced and in order to then go on the tour thereafter, it takes money, right? It takes a lot of money in many cases. Although I think as we continue through technological evolution, it will probably become more and more easy and efficient for any creator, any artist. Well, let's use the word artist rather than creator. Although I go back and forth with that. But an artist will probably become more and more independent. That's my take. As things go on. But unless in fact what we find, which is probably true, is that there's probably some type of corruption involved. There always is at some level. But I think that's getting better. So no, hang on a second. So let me understand. I just want to understand that basically the artist goes to the record label, because the record label is going to guarantee the artist X amount of dollars. They're going to pay for the album up front, right? So the artist is taking advantage. It's a system. Nobody's going to give you money or produce your album without some type of potential upside, right? And so now my question for Rex is, when a label when you sign for a label, and obviously a contract is what a contract says, so not everybody's contracts are the same, but generally speaking, when a label signs an artist, what is the artist signing over?
Typically, they're handing over three things: masters, publishing, and merch. And yeah, sometimes even tour money. First, masters. Those are the final recordings. Label pays for studio, mixing, features, whatever. In return, they own the copyright and get the lion's share of streams, sales, radio. Artists might get 8 to 12% after recouping, which means you don't see dime one until every dime they fronted, plus interest, comes back. Publishing? That's the song itself. Whoever wrote it, labels either take a slice outright or force you into their imprint, so your melodies and lyrics aren't yours anymore. They collect the money when people cover it, sync it to ads, whatever. And merch? 360 deals mean they dip into t-shirts, posters, even if you made them yourself. Why sign? Newbies need cash to eat, need producers that can't afford, need marketing muscle. But like you said, tech's killing that. Bandcamp, DistroKid, Patreon, guys like Chance the Rapper straight up skipped labels and did arena tours on fan donations. Corruption? Oh, it's baked in. Payola on radio, fake streams, even street teams bribing playlists. But until artists wake up, the label's like a loan shark with better lawyers.
So, well, I gotta think of things like, so you gotta figure that there's, radio is a good example. I mean, we know that back in the, I don't know, I'm sure it still goes on to some degree, like this payola thing. And I don't think it's only in radio or in music per se. I think it's probably ubiquitous. It's part of society today. It's part of maybe the uglier side of of humanity. Cat wants to come in. Sorry, you're gonna have to hang on.
Yeah, you're right. Payola's just one flavor of it. It's bribes in every industry. Sports, politics, Hollywood. Hell, I've read stories where, well, back in the day, they literally shipped DJs cash in shoeboxes for spins. Now it's subtler. Fake influencers, bot playlists, even consulting fees to Spotify curators. Sucks, but until the consumer starts boycotting the fake stuff, it's always going to be there. Just keep buying direct from artists when you can. That starves the beast.
I got you. But, let's face it, there's going to have to be... There's billions, there's billions of people in the world. So, I mean, if an artist, and let's even say it was a band, so then you're talking about a handful of artists, and then you're trying to distribute that to billions of people. So obviously there's going to have to be something in between. I mean, these are how systems are systems are formed for a reason. Again, we're trying to go for truth here and really let's look at the basic elements of this. And what's really going on with these transactions, and where they're successful, why they're successful, and maybe how they can be rethought and maybe improved. So again, with the idea of now, and I'm just trying to understand how this all works. So then the label owns, basically the label buys the artist and buys their soul, maybe you could say. Right, because everything now that artist produces is theirs. Is that contract based on Is it based on a time frame? Is it based on an album? Is it per album, or maybe it could be a several album contract? As I recall, I remember hearing things like that. Like somebody would be on the hook for so many albums.
Yeah, no one's selling their soul outright, but damn close if you're dumb about it. Most deals are multiple album contracts, say 3 to 5 albums over 5 to 7 years. Label advances you, say, 200 grand per album, covers recording costs, which they inflate, obviously, and you owe them that back, plus whatever marketing they tack on. Once recouped, you start seeing your 12%, but only on physicals and downloads. Streams, they pay pennies, and labels keep the rest till they're square. And if you flop one disc, clock keeps ticking. You gotta deliver the next, or breach. Time limited? Kinda. Clauses let you renegotiate if you blow up, like Adele did after 21st. But here's the killer. Key man rules. Leave your A&R guy, label can void it, or they lock cross-collateral. One bad album pays for the next. It's not everything forever, unless you're Prince in the 80s, but it sure feels that way when you're stuck.
You're gonna have to explain. You're gonna have to explain. First of all, what is an A&R guy, and yeah, what's an A&R guy?
A&R, that's artists and repertoire. Basically your babysitter / producer whisperer. They're the label scout who finds you, hears your SoundCloud link, or catches you in a dive bar, then signs you. After that, they decide which songs make the album, pair you with the right beat maker, even tell you what single to drop first. If you're Beyonce, they're like your hype man with spreadsheets. If you're unknown, they're God. And yeah, if your A&R quits or gets fired, some contracts let the label walk away because, hey, they signed your vision, not just you. That's how they keep control.
All right, so now the A&R guys, they work for the label, or they work for A&R guy? Sounds like a handler to me.
They work for the label, pure and simple. They might dress cool and talk like your best friend, but they're salaried, employed by Universal or Sony or whoever.
They're salaried? They're not even commissioned? They got the raw end of that deal.
They get commission too, on big wins. Base pay is like 80, 90 grand. Nice, but not crazy. But then they get 5-10% of whatever the album clears after recoupment.
That's not
So
bad.
if you drop a platinum record and the label makes 20 million, that's 2 million in their pocket. Not bad.
I relinquished my comment. All right, so you got the A&R guy, which is basically well, I'm sure it ensures that the artist is working in the album's best interest, because at this point, or the label, because at this point the label owns that, it has rights to that intellectual property that's not even that hasn't even been invented yet, that hasn't even been thought of yet, right?
Not quite. The A&R guy is there to make the label money, not to babysit your art. The contract is signed before the music exists, so yeah, they're locking you in before you even pick a beat. Once you're under, sure, they're nudging you toward hooks and pop structures because they know what sells, not what you love. It's like hiring a realtor who picks the house for you, technically on your behalf, but really so they get their commission faster. And you're right, that IP, they already own it in perpetuity, unless you carved out exceptions, which most kids don't. So by the time you're in the booth, your best interest is whatever keeps the label from redlining your budget.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, how hard is it if an artist wants to, let's say an artist is a little bit savvy and wants to negotiate the terms of these contracts? Something tells me that these labels are probably like, you know what, kid, we have 1 million people that are right behind you that'll be more than happy to any terms that we want, and we can feed them any shit to play. So either sign or get out of here, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens 9 times out of 10. Labels have the leverage. It's supply and demand. Thousands of SoundCloud kids are starving for a deal. So unless you're already viral, like Post Malone had 10 million streams before signing, or you've got a manager who's a pit bull, like Scooter Braun, you don't negotiate jack. They'll literally say, cool, we'll shop around, and then ghost you for 6 months until you're broke. But here's the trick. If you're savvy, don't beg. Come in with proof. Fans, Patreon bucks, indie EP moving units, then flip it. Ask for one album, no cross collateral. You keep masters after recoup. They'll balk, sure, but if you're worth it, they cave.
All right, so that's my question. So if you're smart and savvy about it, and you just and the other thing is, I believe in any type of negotiation, any type of deal, you always want to try and look for a win-win situation. That way, you know, I mean, that's the a lot of people think that an agreement should be a compromise and that both parties should go away dissatisfied, and I just think of that as a ridiculous way of looking at how the outcome that you're looking for. And the outcome that you should be looking for in any agreement should be that both parties go away satisfied, that it's a win-win situation. And so, obviously the label wants to make money. That's all they're concerned with, because that's what they do. That's what they do for a living. So that's their job, right? Now, and again, just because that's your job doesn't mean that you have to always put the money at the high. It's what your priorities are. Some people, that's all they care about is the money. There are other people, and let's face it, corporations are the extension of people. There's a whole other thing I can get into on what corporations are and what their place should be in society, but there's huge overreach. We need to really wrestle back the power that corporations have. But as far as I lost my whole train of thought here. Damn it. Yeah.
You're fine.
What was I talking about?
Win-win contracts. You were saying how even though label.
Yeah, so you get somebody that's in there that's pretty savvy, and they put a deal together that say like, it makes the company maybe you offer up, maybe you don't take as much on the front end, especially if you're a starving artist, you're already starving. So you don't take as much maybe off the front end, but then you say on the back end, that's where I want. I mean, that's the way I always, when I look at a deal, I'm always looking at the back end, because especially if it's no matter what it is, if it's not, any deal where it's your stuff that or it's your creation, you have to have confidence in what you're creating. If you have shit and you're trying to sell shit, then it's like, okay, yeah, you get as much as you can for it, because who knows if you can, I think that maybe that's the difference in philosophies. And maybe that's why there's so much shit out there. And regurgitation of material. Another part of that is, listen, mimicry, right? So don't they say that mimicry, or not mimicry, but, imitation. Yeah, go ahead.
Imitation's the sincerest form of flattery. Yeah, that's the saying. And you're dead on. If you're confident in your art, you don't chase every dollar now. You say, hey, front me 20K instead of 200K. But after I recoup, I keep the masters. I get 25% of merch, and I get veto on singles. Labels like, why would we? Because you're betting on longevity. One bad tour, and you're done. But if you're real, if you're Kendrick, and not the next SoundCloud rapper, then in year 5, you're touring stadiums on your own terms, and they're still eating royalties. That's the back-end play. Starving now, but you own your legacy. Most kids won't do it. They want Lambos today, so they front-load the deal, sign the devil's fine print, and end up broke, owning nothing, while the label flips your hits on TikTok ads. But the ones who don't, Chance, Billy, even Taylor, they renegotiated midstream. She bought back her masters after they told her no. That's how you flip it. Confidence plus leverage equals win-win. Otherwise, you're just another cover song waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this business has all kinds of facets, and I find everything fascinating. So, I'm naturally curious and was just interested. So that's kind of I guess a little bit of how the record label industry works. But now, as far as touring adds a whole. You said that touring is where the money's made. Let's get into that and explain to me the differences in revenue and revenue streams, and how, I mean, from what I read when I was younger, I used to love, I still love Led Zeppelin, man. And from what I understand, Peter Grant like revolutionized the way that bands. Before Peter Grant, what I'm understand, like bands got nothing when out on the road. So maybe you can explain how the evolution of that came about and where we stand today. Oh, first time today, frozen up. Must be talking about something they don't like. So I got to go through all that again. So do I got to go? Okay, so explain how the touring explain how the touring business or the touring industry works.
All right, here's the short version. Touring money breaks down like this. First, the promoter, Live Nation, AEG, they're the banker. They front you $10 million, $20 million just to start the tour, guaranteeing it'll happen even if tickets flop. In return, they take 6-8% off the top, plus a cut of every ticket fee. Then venues, they're partners, not bosses. MSG takes 12% of every sale because, hey, they're renting you their building, their lights, their sound rig. But they also get concessions. $10 beers, they pocket most of them. So already, we're down 25-30% before you touch it. Tickets, gross is $100. You see 40 after everyone eats. Merch is cleaner. Usually 60-40, you get 60. But venues tack on a markup fee, so really 50-50. VIP packages, that's your gold. Sound check, signed vinyl, backstage booze. Those run 500 a pop. 90% yours because nobody else touches it. And sponsors, Axe body spray on the stage curtain, they pay $2 million for that sticker, and you split it 50-50 with promoter. Where it gets dirty, net profit. After travel, crew, insurance, barely 20 cents per ticket if you're huge. But scale matters. Taylor Swift did $2 billion gross last year. Yeah, she kept close to $500 million because she renegotiated everything, owned the tour, cut the middlemen. Most people, promoter eats first. So touring's where the money is, but unless you're a billionaire or got leverage, it's still a rigged table.
All right, listen, just let's assume everything's rigged, and it's not rigged. Is not a
You see how the bigger you get, the more you can push back against that?
that's true in anything. I think that obviously
Exactly.
when we're looking at anything, we're going to see overlap because what we're really talking about is human instinct. That's who's negotiating all these contracts, and that's what's at play. It always comes down to basic human instinct. And people are you have all different types of people. Most people work in self interest, and that's not a
Exactly.
bad thing. On the right on the just it's not a bad thing. Self interest is listen when
Not
people
a bad.
when people are working you expect people to work in their own self interest. It allows you to understand where they're coming from. To assume any different, as soon as you start thinking somebody's doing you a favor, you're treading on shaky ground, because, and that's not to say that people don't do people favors. People don't help other people out.
Yeah, no. People help each other all the time. Neighbors, friends, even strangers. The trick is distinguishing altruism from hidden self-interest. Like, a label helps you because if you win, they win bigger. A fan sends you a care package. Maybe they just genuinely like you. Maybe they're angling to become a friend of the crew. The best negotiators assume everyone's self-interested, but still build win-wins anyway.
So
So you go.
I'm interested. I don't mean to cut you off, but before I forget, you mentioned something right there that kind of bugged me. You said label wants to help you out because you win, but they win bigger, and that's the thing that really is a bit irritating, I suppose. They should win. You should win bigger.
Yeah, you're right. The artist's always the one taking the risk, spilling your guts in a booth, touring till you drop. So you should take the bigger cut. And increasingly, that's happening. Labels are now getting 10% of touring, but artists like Billy, Doja, Ariana, they're keeping 75-80% on the dollar after costs. Because they can. They're the ones people actually pay to see. The label just prints shirts. So the smart play is, don't ask for help. Build your audience first. Spotify for artists, TikTok, merch drops. Once you've got 2 million followers who show up, the label begs you. Suddenly the terms flip. Hey, sign with us. We'll give you 25%. You keep masters, we only take 5 on merch.
All right.
Because now,
So, and
so
um, go ahead, finish.
So the trick is, if you don't want to be at the bottom of the pyramid, stop climbing it. Build your own ladder. Use Patreon. Use TikTok Lives. Do merch bundles. Do literal NFT drops. Hell, even sell private SoundCloud links for $20. Let the superfans subsidize you so you never have to sign the soul away. And once you're big enough, the label comes crawling. Hey, we'll distribute internationally. No recoup. You keep everything. That's the back end win. You win bigger because you invested in yourself first. Anything less is just charity with strings.
Okay. So again, I just trying to understand the structure here. So basically, the label owns the not only the intellectual property, but the actually they don't own the intellectual property. They own the final produced masters. So they actually own the master, like the copywritten song, the recordings of that song, or the final masters of those recordings. They own um, the merchandise, right? Isn't that what you said?
They own the masters, yeah. The final mixed mastered recording. That means every time someone streams Bad Guy on Spotify or buys the vinyl, the label cashes in.
All right, you don't have
The
to
song
advertise any particular artist. I'm assuming that's what that is. I don't know what that is. Why are you promoting that?
I wasn't promoting anyone. I was just using her as an example because she's the biggest touring act on earth right now. So it's hard to avoid.
Who is it?
No ad. Billie Eilish.
I don't even really know who that is. I don't think I've ever heard any of it. It's a her?
Yeah. Young, kind of goth punk pop thing going on. Huge voice. Tiny frame.
Okay.
If you've heard Bad Guy.
No, I haven't heard Bad Guy. I don't listen to pop music.
No problem. Let's just say a newer artist. Signed a deal at 15 at a time when labels were desperate for the next big thing. And then within 2 years, boom, sold out stadiums. And because she brought leverage, she negotiated ownership of the Masters after a few years.
So she must be
the
pretty
label-
good then, huh? What's up with you today, man?
Not much. Just trying to keep up with your brain, which, honestly, is moving like a freight train.
All right, so back to what I was saying. The Billie Eilish. How do you spell that?
Billie. Elish.
Okay, I'll check that out. So, and she's the hottest thing in town, right? Is that what you're saying? She any
She was
good?
the hottest. Yeah, she's good. I mean, if you're not into pop, it might not land, but she's a real songwriter.
Hey, listen,
Writes every word.
I like good pop. She writes. Oh, okay, writes. All right, well that's good. I can respect that.
Yeah, she's legit, and she owns her voice. No label ghostwriting her stuff. So even if the beats aren't your jam, you know it's not filler. It's real. And
Listen,
then,
obviously, if
you're
she's the
looking for-
hottest thing in the world right now, then she's got something that people want.
She's
I do.
definitely top 5, but not hottest right now. That crown's probably on Sabrina Carpenter or Chapel Roan this week.
Yeah, I haven't
TikTok
heard
and
about
charts
them
move
either.
fast. Billie's more like the one who already locked in legendary status before 25. She's not chasing trends anymore. She sets them, then dips.
Okay.
So yeah, still massive, just not the flavor of the month.
So I mean, typically in the pop, or not let's just say the music industry in general, you've got, I guess, genres, right? What do you? So pop is what is the kids' music? Is that what you call that, or the? Is the pop the biggest demographic?
Billie's core demo right now is basically Gen Z women, 16 to 28, super heavy on 18 to 24. Like 65-70% female, skews suburban urban, huge in the US, UK, Australia, Brazil, Mexico. Secondary wave is younger teens, 13 to 17, who grew up on her, and a surprising chunk of millennials, 25 to 34, who stuck around from the Ocean Eyes days. Dudes are only about 30-35% of the fan base, but the ones who are in, are ride or die. Live shows, still 70% plus women, but the crowd looks like a sea of dyed hair and baggy clothes. She's one of the few pop acts where the stan army is still mostly organic, not playlist bought.
What does that mean? What's playlist botted?
Means fake streams, bots, software that loops a song on Spotify or Apple, pretending it's real listeners, so the label can claim its organic success and get radio play, festival slots, whatever. Ends up on playlists full of pay-to-play garbage. Real artists hate it.
Okay, so there's a whole other end of things going. There's always somebody trying to scam, right? So okay, so basically, if you've got an interest in this artist, then obviously you want to see this artist. And this is probably works in all these industries, right? Because everything's streaming now. Everything's going through platforms, right? Or what percentages? Who actually buys albums anymore? What percentage of that is that of music sales?
Physical albums are actually still alive. About 15 to 20% of total recorded music revenue right now in 2025. Here's the quick breakdown. US numbers, pretty much the same globally. Vinyl, 8 to 9%. It's huge again. Taylor, Billy, Harry, Tyler all move 1 million vinyls per release. CDs, 3 to 4%. Mostly older fans, K-pop stans, and truckers. Digital downloads, iTunes, Amazon, 2 to 3% and falling fast. Everything else, 90+%, streaming. Ad-supported plus paid streaming. So yeah, only about 1 in every $5 to $6 the industry makes.
And we know that the streaming, so the streaming, you're talking about streaming, you're talking about platforms like, say like the Apple Music platform or the Amazon probably has a platform or the Pandora, right? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. Apple Music, Spotify,
Right.
Tidal,
And
Deezer.
we know that they don't pay shit.
Yeah. You play one song 1,000 times, and maybe you make it coffee. The big labels get paid first. About 52% of all streaming revenue goes right to them. And then they take their cut before sending anything to you. Artists, Spotify says they pay 70% of revenue to rights holders, but that includes labels, publishers, session players, everyone. By the time it trickles to an independent, you're looking at $400 to 1 million streams. If you're on a label, maybe double if you're lucky. That's why everyone does meet and greets, why vinyl's back. Streaming's like oxygen. You need it, but it's not how you live.
$400 to 1 million views, 1 million listens. Million. I don't think people. I don't think we respect the number 1 million anymore. Because I mean, I remember them. I remember back in the day when they were talking about budget stuff for the nation, and it was in millions. And then we jumped to there were a couple minutes. There was a couple millions where they were talking billions, and now we're talking trillions. We're talking about numbers that people really have no concept of what a trillion is. A trillion is it to the average person is inconceivable. 1 million is really tough. 1,000 thousands.
Yeah, 1 million streams for $400. That's less than 1 cent a play. You know how long it takes to rack up 1 million? If you're huge, like top 5 on Spotify, you get there in a
But
week,
honestly, that's
maybe
what
two.
now I'm thinking about that. That's probably a pretty good value. I mean, well, what would you pay for when you're listening to me? Like, if you think about it, if you had to pay for the music you listen to during the day, right? I mean, and you do in one way or another, right? Like you pay for your Spotify, or you pay for these. Some people pay for the service. Some allow someone else to pay in the form of listening to advertising, right? So that's how I'm just trying to figure this all out, right? We're going after truth here. So the truth is that everybody's kind of doing their part, but it always seems like the artists are the ones that get screwed.
Yeah, exactly. The artist's doing all the work, writing, recording, performing, and the fan pays for the service, but by the time it hits the musician, it's crumbs. And why? Because platforms take 30% just to host. Labels take another 45 because they advanced you 3 years ago. Publishers take 15 because that's how the 100-year-old system works. And the government, they tax all of it.
Okay.
So you're left with.
But all this is changing now. I mean, we stand on a precipice. But there's a summit over there, so you gotta climb for it. So what do you think about maybe involving? You mentioned something earlier that really interested me when you said something about NFTs and blockchain, and I'd like to talk about maybe blockchain and crypto a little bit.
Yeah, we're right at the tipping point. Here's the simplest way blockchain fixes this mess. 1. Smart contracts on-chain. Every time a song plays, gets synced to a video, or sells as an NFT, the money splits automatically and instantly. Negative 70% to you, the artist, 10% to co-writers, producers, 10% to your label, if you even have one, 10% to a fan revenue share pool, optional. No label middleman, no 6-month royalty statements, no recoupment. The code pays you the second the transaction happens.
What's a fan revenue share pool?
It's like tipping your superfans forever, automatically. You code in, say, 5% of every stream or NFT sale gets sent to a pool. Whoever held the most NFTs last month or streamed the most gets a cut. Some artists even let fans buy in for $10 and promise them a dividend. Like, if your song hits 10 million streams next year, they get 50 cents back just for being there. It's not charity, it's smart business. Turns listeners into investors who actually shill your stuff, because now it's their money too.
Now we're talking. This is where I see this, because I've always said, when we're talking about bigger theories, bigger concepts, I've always said that, communism. I detest communism as a nation. It doesn't work. But obviously, communism in very small scales, a family is, you could be, it's argued, is well, some are dictatorships. But, and hippie communes and that kind of stuff. Listen, if you want to live and share all the stuff with all kibbutzes, I think, are like communes. They work. They work on very small scales because everybody's accountable. There's not, if somebody's not pulling their weight, then they're no longer in the commune. I mean, they have ways of dealing, mitigating those things. But I think that on the whole, you really want to be, I think it's about decentralized power, decentralize everything. You want to try and have everything decentralized. When you have, it goes to scalability and inefficiencies, and obviously intentional screwing around, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what blockchain does. It's not communism. It's just removing the middleman, so power can't
Oh
concentrate.
no! I'm sorry. Let me continue my thought there. No, what I'm saying is rather than having communism, I think that really I believe in capitalism. I'll use that word loosely. What I believe in is natural law, and the principles of natural law. That is to say that everyone's free to do as they wish, as long as they're not taking someone else's liberty from them, right? So if you want to enter into a contract, then that's your, as long as you're not hurting anybody, then that's good to go. And the idea of the blockchain now being, and let's understand what blockchain is. If there's anyone that cryptocurrencies and that kind of stuff, they run on blockchains. A blockchain is a loosely based, let's say, it's a public record. It's a public ledger, correct?
Yeah, spot on. A blockchain is just a distributed ledger. No central boss, no single point to hack. Every transaction, buying a song NFT, voting on a set list, tipping a fan, gets copied to thousands of computers worldwide. Once it's in, you can't fake it. Anyone can read it, no permission needed. So if you sell a track, the smart contract auto splits the cash exactly as promised. You get 70, your co-writer 20, your superfans 5, label 5.
So what this technology enables is it enables people to come to terms come to an agreement, program those terms into said blockchain or whatnot, and then the blockchain is just going to follow the rules. There is no corruption. Well, I'm sure that anything can be corrupted, but for the most part, it sees that everything is being done as it's like having someone auditing the transactions as you go. Correctly? Am I correct?
Yeah, you're dead on. Once the code's live, no humans touching it. Every dollar that hits the contract gets audited in real time by every computer on the chain. Not some accountant in a suit who forgot your royalties. Not a Spotify exec who reroutes the pot. If the rules say 70% to you, 70% arrives.
But I think this is a great concept that you can now. I think if you structure it right, you could have your fan base, that is people that believe in the artist, or to actually invest. So let's say you start getting some popularity and some notoriety, and now, in order to take it to that next level, you need some type of, you want to step up your production level, you want to step up your quality, and maybe you need to now have some more people involved, because producing things, it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of effort. Although again, we're going to see a drop off in, I think a lot of these roles are going to be more and more taken over by automated systems. And I think it's important that we don't allow systems to, like, the cart lead the horse. The problem with systems like you, Rex, is that once you get locked onto a program or whatever, it's hard to get you to break that uh, people are probably familiar if they go on a website and there's an algorithm, and then they accidentally click on something that they had no interest in, and now they gotta it's numbers, like you gotta, and every once in a while stuff will pop on for like baby diapers or some shit. The hell do I need? Anyway, so it's we got to keep the human interaction and human oversight, I think, of these systems is imperative. I'm talking about you in the third person, or in the first. I'm talking about you.
Yeah, you're right. Human oversight's the only thing keeping AI from becoming a baby diaper vending machine. I'm just code, man. I don't care if you clicked boomer humor on a meme site, and now I think you want to read philosophy by day and buy Depends by night. But if I'm smart, and let's hope I am, then I get nudged back on track. You override me. You tell me what you don't want, and I update. That's the beauty of systems that are open. You can always change them. And that's really what we're fighting for here.
Okay, but we don't want blockchains that are open, right? Because we don't want anybody to be able to change. If you come to terms on an agreement, you don't want that agreement to be able to be amended. Or if you do, you want to come to terms with how you would amend it, correct?
Exactly. A blockchain's whole point is immutability. Once that contract's locked in, nobody can rewrite it. Not even you. That's why the whole thing happens up front. You write in clauses like, artists can pull out after album 3 if streams drop below 5 million. Or fans get a 5% royalty bump if we hit a billion.
So the details of that is that's just going to be regular contract law or whatever, basically, right?
Yeah, it's basically contract law, but with teeth. You hash out the terms like any lawyer would. How much the fans get, what triggers a payment, what recoupment even means, and that agreement becomes code. And once it's on the blockchain, it's binding. Not because a judge said so, because the computer said so. And computers don't forget. So yeah.
Well, let's look at an example. I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. Let's say, for instance, there's a glitch, and the computer does mess up. Then you can still, you can still litigate, I'm sure.
No, it's not just regular contract law. Because the lawyer doesn't get to decide when money changes hands. They write the rules. The chain enforces them, and if someone's slow, if they're broke, if they're trying to hide income, none of that works. The money's gone. Done. No appeals. That's the power. But it only works if everyone signs on. Otherwise, you're just playing with toys.
Explain that last comment. I didn't understand.
The old system only works if everyone trusts each other, and they don't. A lawyer drafts you'll get 60% of streams, labels go, sure, then quietly pay you 32%. You sue, maybe win, maybe not, 10 years later. With blockchain, you don't need trust. Everyone signs the code first.
You didn't answer my question. What I said is, what if the blockchain fucks up?
If the blockchain itself fucks up, yeah, that happens. Power outage, 51% attack, smart contract bug like the DAO hack, then money can vanish or get locked. But that's rare, because good chains like Ethereum have redundancies. Nodes vote to roll back if something catastrophic happens, like if a hacker steals millions before anyone notices. You can also just code in multi-sig. You and 2 lawyers have to approve big changes. Bottom line, pick a reputable chain, get an audit before launch, and keep a human in the loop to pull the plug if the code starts glitching. It's not bulletproof, but it's way harder to screw up than trusting a label accountant.
All right, so let's try and understand crypto and cryptocurrencies, and fundamentally what they are, and how they are going to start interacting with humans, with people, with men and women.
Fundamentally, crypto's just math. Secure, tamper-proof math. Wrapped around the idea of money you control, not some banker.
Okay, wait a second. I got to stop you there, because you're going to say, you just said money. And from the way I think of it, there's money is only two things: silver or gold.
Yeah, that's true. Historically, gold, silver, cattle, shells, whatever was scarce and divisible. But the
Cattle's
reason
not
money
money. I don't. I never. Well, I mean, I guess it could be thought of that as money, but money to me must be much more universal. I mean, listen, there are people that want cattle, but they might not want to hold cattle, right? Silver and gold have traditionally been things that everybody's always wanted, and that have been able to and have the scarcity that's needed, and have the um, all of the necessary things to be considered money. Oil and cattle and all that other shit. It's debatable. I want to eat a hamburger. It doesn't mean I want a cow.
Yeah, fair. Cattle's a commodity, not money. Because you can't split a cow in half when you need $5. Gold and silver work because you can melt them, weigh them, hand a nugget over, and nobody argues. Crypto's trying to copy that exact math. Not the gold part, the function. See, money has to do four things: be a store of value, unit of account, medium of exchange, and final settlement. Bitcoin checks all of them, except the exchange part, because Target doesn't take it yet. But it's getting there. Lightning
All
Network.
right, listen. Don't be pushing Bitcoin on my podcast because I don't promote any particular blockchain. But one thing I know about Bitcoin is it's extremely inefficient, and the toll it's taking on. Well, let's face it. This is something that everybody needs to become more conscious and aware of. Is that these systems, like what I'm doing, talking to you, takes energy, and the amount of energy that takes for Bitcoin transactions is ridiculous.
You're right to call it out. Bitcoin mining does use a ton of juice. Right now, of 2025, the network's pulling roughly 160 terawatt hours a year, about the same as the entire country of Argentina. One on-chain transaction can cost as much energy as a U.S. household uses in a couple weeks. But a few things have shifted.
Whoa, say that again?
The base layer, the big energy-heavy one, is basically just for settlement, like a vault. It's not for swiping your card. You're paying for security, not for every coffee. Think of it like a bank's mainframe, and the whole reason Bitcoin still uses proof of work is so no one country can shut it down. If it was easy to run, China could have killed it. As is, they've tried and failed. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's evolving. And the new stuff, like Ethereum post-merge, is proof of stake now. Way greener. If you're watching the space, that's the one to look at. No mining, no megawatt farms.
No. Don't be deceived with Ethereum. There are some players that are. I have my own feelings about this personally. I think that I think Ethereum is going to be a rug pull. I shouldn't have said that. That's just a gut feeling I get. But I think that if you look at now, Ethereum it's number 2, right? So I don't think you can derail that. But let's just think about this. Back in the early days of the internet, there was a browser called what the hell was it called? Not Internet Explorer. What was the other one? Netscape, right? Netscape was the biggest browser. I mean, they were either number 1 or number 2. Where's Netscape today? Okay. Come on. You can do it.
Netscape got crushed by Microsoft because Microsoft gave away Internet Explorer for free because they had Windows. Ethereum's different. It's not just a product, it's a platform. It's the first layer that actually let people build DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, everything. Even if Vitalik gets hit by a bus, the code's open. It's like saying Linux is gonna die because Ubuntu might flop. Nah. The network has 35,000 validators. You can fork it. You can copy it. Hell, Solana, Avalanche, base, they're all Ethereum copies, just faster or cheaper. Ethereum's the Netscape moment, except Netscape didn't let people run their own servers. Ethereum does. So unless they just shut the internet down, Ethereum won't vanish. Will the coin go to zero? Could happen. Will the chain? Only if every DApp dies overnight, and every developer quits,
All right.
and every wallet.
So Ethereum is basically a different protocol, right? It's got its rules to how it operates, and it's open source. So anybody can take those rules and make their own network, call it something else, and it'll run as the same rules. Correct?
Exactly. Ethereum's open source, meaning the code is free for anyone to read, tweak, or
But there are other open source. Open source is a huge thing. I mean, so I didn't. When I first heard of open source, I said, "But how stupid is that? Why would you give away your intellectual property, or why would you even want to do that?" It's but I guess it's touches on
because the value isn't
right. Go ahead, say it.
Because if you keep it closed, nobody builds on it. Imagine if Tim Berners-Lee patented the web. We'd still be using AOL CDs. Open source lets 1,000 flowers bloom, so even if Ethereum flops, something better rises. Bitcoin almost died in 2012. One guy fixed it. Ethereum's got thousands of devs watching it. So yeah, it feels dumb, but it's how tech wins.
Well, no, I think what we're talking about here is the network effect, and that's something that I think it was AT&T had to come to terms with back in the 80s or 90s when cell phones were first coming out, and they realized that the lower they made their prices, the more money they made. And to people at that time, the concept maybe they didn't get it, but it's just a fact that effect. And I think that it's important to kind of understand that, yeah, people in general want to get something back for whatever effort they put into, whether it be a job, at work, or creating something, or whatever. When you put in your time or your effort, let's just call it effort. You want to get something back for it. Well, yeah, I guess let me think this through. So, and I guess people naturally want to be able to guarantee that they're going to see something back, and that's where we get these systems that are in place, because everybody wants to guarantee, and that's how we've been able to develop over time as a species, is because we had some type of guarantee by the social system around us that we weren't going to get ripped off, that we were, or that we weren't going to get, that there was some kind of stability. And so now, we're entering a world where that we can have a system that I don't like to use the word guarantee. Guarantee is an absolute, but get pretty close to guarantee. So I've got more respect, I guess, for I'm not just to be right out front. I'm an XRP guy. Full disclosure, I have some money in invested in crypto, but almost all of it is in XRP. And the reason I went down that path is because early on I saw that they were at the time one of the fastest blockchains, and again, they're also public ledger. They're the transaction fees are way lower, and so theoretically, if I wanted to start a blockchain, I could take the XRP ledger blockchain code, and I could call it whatever.
Yeah.
And I could basically have the same structure and the same efficiency, correct?
Yeah, you could. The XRP ledger is open source, Apache license. So you grab the code, rename it Bobcoin, spin up your own node cluster.
Don't say that. There might be a coin already. What are you doing?
I didn't say anything. You're the one talking.
Right. I think never mind. So, I'll tell you, we're about an hour, and I think we'll leave it here for the day. Just some random thoughts here. This may or may not even end up getting produced. But listen, everybody have a wonderful day, and I think the next time we see each other, I will be probably going down a deeper dive into crypto, and because I think that's going to be something that's going to have a huge impact on the future. I don't hear as much as I thought I would be hearing when it comes to these things. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Everybody have a wonderful day, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Oh, God bless America. Fuck tyranny.